Okay, good morning everybody. Welcome to Sprueverse, my scale model universe. As always, hopefully everybody's safe, healthy and well. To my friends in the UK, I really hope this turns around for you guys very soon. Lots of love to you guys. Be well, be safe. Let's crack on. So today is a slightly different sort of format for me. It's not a how-to, this is just sort of to follow my progress build, because I thought that would be a lot of fun. And while I'm waiting for Eagle Moss and Ad60 to figure out their lives and start sending me more build parts for my kits, I'm back to plastic, which is, believe me, I'm not complaining. I'm grateful for it, and I love it. So this is the 2001 EVA Pod from our good friends at Mobius Models, and they're also coming out with another vehicle later this year, I believe, from this series. I am a big movie buff, and to have iconic spaceships in my collection is something that I've thought about for many years. You know, you go on binges of Star Trek and binges of Star Wars, and some of the kits are beautiful kits, but the smaller scales to me are not as interesting as the larger scales. Of course, you know, the question then becomes, where do you put the ball? But hey, you know what? I'm not worrying about that. I'll let my wife worry about that. So anyway, this is in 1/8 scale, and it is a really, really nice kit. It came out several years ago, so there's no revelations here, guys. This is not the launch channel. You know, I love all the modelers who do an unboxing or get a kit and off they go. Some of my kits, like a fine wine, stay in my stash for years. But I'm just really enjoying the larger scales, and also because we are a bit of a test kitchen here at Sprueverse, it's fun for me to find out what all the other aftermarket parts are so that you can take a look at those choices, and if you choose to build this kit, perhaps you'll seek out those things as well. So, in this episode, I'm really sort of just introducing a bunch of stuff to you, and then telling you what my plans are for the kit, and then that'll be it for this episode. And then in the next episode, I will show you my continued my continued success and progress, and see where we are. So to begin with, when I got the kit, I started to look for aftermarket parts, and there are quite a few. And some of them I'm really pleased with, because they answer a lot of questions that haven't been answered previously to guys who are building kits. One guy in particular, Lou Del Maso at Ad60, who some of his masks I'm going to be using on this particular build. He built this model and did a fantastic job with it. In fact, he's built several versions of it, and he's really, to me, he's one of the best that are out there, and I'm a huge fan. But one of the challenges Lou had was the interior of this piece. Now, I sort of as a sidebar, I had built the hopper, the MLV5, Randy Cooper's design from Pegasus last year. And it was a cylinder as well, with a really nice interior that lit up really, really nicely. And there was enough window space in that kit that you could really see into it. I'll put a picture up here of what that looked like, and you can check it out on my website, sprueverse.com. I've got the build there. And anyway, it was terrific, but a lot of challenges in terms of light blocks and that sort of a thing. And when you start lighting up all kinds of control panels, the wiring can get a little it can get a little crazy. So it's really handy to have a kit that supplies all of the parts you will need to make something. To me, it's very helpful. I love stimulating the economy, so it's a good thing to get people working and help people out when we can and if we can. But also, more importantly, I think that a lot of thought has gone into a lot of these aftermarket kits, and it just makes the experience of building these models just that much better and just more fun. Specifically with Lou, he was struggling with light boxes, and I don't mean struggling in a difficult way. He's very talented, so he fabricated them all, and they all ended up behind the screens in the interior of this piece. There's a large viewing screen in the EVA Pod, so you can see an awful lot, not only through the front, but also through the back. So that means there's an awful lot to look at inside, and that's a lot of fun. But some of the challenges are always getting wires into tight places, having to chew into plastic to do that, and also to light block. Well, there are a lot of fixes for those problems now, and they will make your life a lot easier. And I'm really excited to be using some of those in this kit, and we'll talk about them in this build. So, for the instruction kit is terrific as always. So. It wants you to start with the arms. Now, those arms here, you can see they are the articulating arms, and there's two sets. So you're going to essentially want to build those as a separate unit. They're going to need a little bit of seam cleaning up. But I've noticed in the decal set that there's just a plethora of decals for this. So you don't have to do a lot of fine detail painting. You can do it all in decal. And for the most part, I find the Mobius decals to be pretty good. As long as you handle them carefully and read the instructions thoroughly, we shouldn't have any problems. So I will go ahead and build those arms, and then I will leave them off, obviously, the kit until the finish. And then after we've done the arms, it wants us to carry on and start on the interior. And that's where I'm going to be spending the bulk of my time. So hopefully in the next video you will have seen quite a bit of progress, and we'll be on the interior of this thing, and we can get into lighting and all kinds of things. And it should be a lot of fun. So as you can see as we go through, the instructions are really, they're deep into the interior of the kit. And then once you've completed the interior of the kit, for us, it will not just be the interior, it'll be the enclosed wiring as well, harness. Then you start to sort of layer on the exterior of this cylinder. And the nice thing about this model is there's plenty of room inside the exterior shell to hide all of your wiring. One of the biggest sort of decisions we're going to have to make is just how many circuits we're going to be on. Do we want the headlights on the front here to light up separately from the interior? And I think we do. And do we want HAL on the HAL computer light on a separate circuit? I think we do. So that would mean this base is going to have to be pretty complicated. But perhaps what I may do is go down to my local guy who can cut acrylic for me and have him build the shape for me and put it together, and then I can paint it and plug and play, and that's probably the cleanest, easiest way to do it. They'll take you through all the way to the end here where they give you a paint and decal scheme, which is really helpful for deciding which lights are which colors. If you want to be Canon, and I'm going to try and be as Canon as possible because I want this kit to really be as close as I can to a filming miniature. And then we've got obviously a lot of color on the inside, and that'll be a lot of fun. Obviously, this was a 60s movie. Kubrick was really into details and being quite specific with everything he did. So, but in some ways, a lot of the technology here kind of reminds me a little bit of the first Star Wars incarnation in '74. The technology feels a little bit of the same, as does a lot of the panel colors and the designs. So, so there you have it, and then we've got quite an extensive detail for where all of the decals will go. And the decal sheet is quite something to look at. I mean, it's quite something. Here it is, and they're beautifully done. So. You're given all of the screens, and you're given the faceplate beauty plates for the control surfaces, as well as a lot of detail for the door, and then the rest of these tiny decals here in the corner are for the arms. Let me put this on fill cam for you real quickly so that we can get nice and close to this. And I'll try, I promise I'll try not to be glary here, but you can see there's an awful lot of color and vibrancy and detail. And so we are going to have to be careful that this doesn't look like a toy. And that's why everything, when it's all finished, will get a matte finish. For me, it'll get a matte finish. But, so that's the decal sheet. This brings us to the next company that I have enlisted here. This is Yay Monsters. Now, if you've followed my channel, you will know that Yay Monsters is a company that I purchased the ET Phone Home spaceship from. And it is a really cool model, and I'm going to be building that. It's going to be quite a special build, actually. So, and it involves a friend across the pond, so it's going to be a big kind of splashy deal. So look out for that. There'll be more information later. But Yay Monsters also have a what they call an acrylic LED light support kit for the 1/8 scale Mobius EVA Pod. And so I purchased it. So you don't have to if you don't want to. But if you want to, I recommend it, because here it is. Now, there are acrylic chips, I will call them, that mimic the actual kit pieces. And then there are standoffs that you get that you glue to the base, and that allows you to put the standoff behind the kit. Let me put this on fill cam so that we are up close and personal. Here it is with the standoffs, and it allows you to create a light box. And what you can do now is you can take your 3mm or your 5mm LED bulbs, and you can actually slot them into which hole you choose to use. That is directly above, I should say below, the panel. So it will light each individual panel. So if we put blue lights on those lines, they will shine down and hit these. Now, when this is all sealed up, I probably will just get a little bit of the metal tape, the ducting tape that I use a lot for. It's a really good metal tape. You can get it from your local Lowe's, and it's a really it's a really good light blocker, and it bends and curves beautifully, and that will probably just seal all of this up. Now, the next thing you have to do is you have to figure out what your light blocking is. Now, the old-fashioned way would be to paint this black on the back, paint it black on the front, but mask off all of the buttons because you want those to be clear. Now, why Mobius did not build these pieces in clear, I don't know, because I think it would have been a lot easier for all of us. The opacity on this is going to make it a little more difficult for light to come through. But I've tested the 3mm LEDs, and they actually are quite punchy, so it should work. And so what you're going to do is you're then going to also want this. This is Paragraphics. It's the PGX220 Extra Vehicular Activity Pod Photo Etch Set. It comes on 2 sheets. It is Paul at Paragraphics. It's their finest hour, and it will obviously do 2 wonderful things for me. The first thing it does, and here's a piece for this particular panel, is it drops right over it. Instant light blocking. So we can paint this panel a black gloss and call it a day. And there's one last thing, and as I mentioned to you, and that is Lou Del Maso. Now, Lou's masking set I have purchased as well. Here it is. This is from Aztec Dummy. It is the AD60 Masking Kit. You can get it at Colt TV Man. If you go to my website, his information is there. And here it is. And the wonderful thing about this kit is not only do you get all of the masking, the masks that you need for very complicated, very complex areas, because on the model itself, and I'll bring this back here so that you can see it, these black areas are all grooved. So getting masking tape into these areas is going to be a nightmare, but he provides you with these really intricate masks that have been pre-cut to allow them to sit nicely onto those complicated compound curves and grooves. So that should be cleaner to paint. Now, you're always going to have to touch up your model. It's just the nature of the beast. You always have to be careful when you're using these masks that you're doing light covering with your airbrush, dusting. You're not heavy. If you try to use a rattle can, you're going to be in a world of hurt. You've got to dust the paint on, use several coats, lightly dust it, and then you'll get crisper lines. So the other thing he provides you with are, I kid you not, masks for every single one of these buttons. Every single one. Now, the reason why that is awesome is because you can then paint this surface black, which we're going to do anyway, just because, you know, sort of that old adage, measure twice, cut once. It's just an added level of protection in terms of light leaking. We've got all of these wonderful components that shouldn't be a problem for us, but we have to paint these anyway, because what that paint will do is it will sit in all of these cracks. All of these cracks that create the separations between the buttons, so that when you go to put your finished decal covered photo etch plate over it, you've got the added detail of these black lines that will separate the buttons and give you that lovely crisp finish. This should be really fun. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm really, you know, it's really fun to have good materials to work with, because I know this hobby is about fabricating your own things, and we do that a lot with things like epoxy sculpt, a milliput. We can bend them or even Bondo. We can create surfaces, blend surfaces. There's Sprugo, where we're putting plastic in glue and we're creating a melted version of the plastic itself for seam lines. I mean, we can do all of those things. But at the end of the day, sometimes I have had to spend weeks on seams, or weeks on light blocking, or weeks on little light boxes. And sometimes it can take a lot of the joy and fun out of the things that I really like to do, which is paint, and really get into the details and making these things look even more special. And so I really love these aftermarket products, and if you can afford them, they are terrific. Now, so that's it. The plan is to use Aztec Dummies mask set, which we have here and I've showed you. We're also using Paragraphics photo etch set, which I've showed you. And we're using Yay Monster's acrylic LED support system for the light boxes. One last thing before we conclude the build-up plan, I wanted to show you this. This is also from Paragraphics, and this is a separate set. It does not come with the photo etch. You do have to purchase this separately. But what it is a thing of beauty, because it is on a transparency. All of the screen pieces that do come in the decals, but they come in transparencies, and so when you light these, you can see here, these really punch, and they will really look terrific. So I'm going to use those instead of the decals where there are screens and monitors. It's just going to add another level of punch, and quite frankly, the decals, I've always had trouble with decals that you're supposed to use with screens, because oftentimes when you're trying to light block them or you're trying to do things with them, they'll scratch or peel or damage, and over time they'll come up. With these transparencies, you'll be in really good shape and you'll get a really nice clean finish, and that's really what we're looking for here. So that's the plan for the build. The only other thing I wanted to mention was the lighting kit, because I did purchase from Randy Newbert at Voodoo Effects. I did purchase his lighting kit for this, and Randy does a fantastic job. And he's a gentleman, and if you ever need to get him on the phone, he's helpful. He's a real pro, and it's just a pleasure to work with him. But I also am a big fan of tenor controls too. The information for both of them are on my website, spruverse.com, as will all of this information be there for you as well for this build. So that if you want to follow along or pick up any of these things, I'll have all that information there for you. I don't like to leave it in the descriptions. It just gets lost. So that's where it shall live. And this kit will give you enough wiring and enough bulbs to fire this thing up like a Christmas tree. It's going to be a thing of beauty. The only thing he does not give you is a a higher end switch, I'm going to go for some higher end switches, which are easy. They're not expensive. You can get them online, and they'll just look a lot cleaner on the front of the display case. But we're quite a ways away from that. But this is the kit. So we are literally using 4 or 5 aftermarket products to build this kit. What a lot of fun, right? So this should really build up nicely, and I'm really excited to get this into my collection. I'm just excited about it, and I hope you'll follow along with me. Now, this is not a how-to. I'm just going to simply tell you what I'm using and show you my progress. This is a bit of a change. There are a lot of videos out there of sort of how to build things, and I will do a lot of those on the channel as we go through the year as well. But sometimes I want to mix it up and just enjoy the process, and hopefully you'll enjoy it too. And you'll pick up some hints and tips along the way, as I will. Because every day I sit down at this chair, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be with you guys and to build models. Nothing could be, for me, nothing could be more fun. So there you have it for this, the inaugural episode of my build-up of the 2001 Space Odyssey EVA Pod. And so the next episode I will check in and give you progress and tell you where my challenges are, what I've done, what I haven't done. And we'll just keep going until this thing of beauty is finished. So there you are. Please be safe, be well. As always, build something. And we'll see you on the next episode of Sprueverse. And also, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. I really appreciate it. Take care, everybody.